welcome to the Harley Carnes podcast. Harley on the headlines. I'm going to take a look at some of the stories of the day. I'll have a little something to say about some of them, maybe. And I want to thank you. Thank you for joining in, or for watching, for listening. You know, for all those decades on the radio, you'd be sitting in a little room sometimes. The studio might be quite small. Nothing but you, the control panel, and a microphone. And you always had this sense that there was somebody on the other side of the microphone. You were actually talking to people. You couldn't see them, couldn't feel it. And, of course, there was no camera looking at you either. Got to get used to that. Anyway, there was always that sense of it. And it's the same way here. The thing is, you never know how many, whether it's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or a handful. And so we want to build it. You want to get a lot of people paying attention if you can, in part because it'll help make a little money. Another part because it feels good to know that you're reaching people. And that's really kind of the key of it. So I appreciate your support. I hope you'll hit the like, follow, subscribe buttons. And you know more about it than I do, no doubt about that. And thank you. Thanks again. The U.S. has agreed some time back to sell $14 billion worth of weapons to Taiwan. It hasn't happened yet, mostly to avoid making big China upset. President Trump says he'll talk with Taiwan's president about the situation. How many of us even know that president's name, if we've heard it? He's Lai Ching-te, been on the job for 2 years. Lai is also a doctor, both an internist and a nephrologist, or kidney specialist. He's a chairman of the Democratic Progressive Party, which is not much like the so-called progressives in this country. He's a graduate of Harvard, and he got his master's in public health there. He's known as William Lai. Big China won't like it that an American president is willing to talk directly to the president of Taiwan. Little China, that's what I like to call him. We're supposed to pretend that Taiwan is part of China already, and inevitably. That's Red China's version of America being neutral. Well, of course Trump will talk with President Lai. He talks to everyone of consequence, including our enemies. Congress has approved the weapons deal. Now it's supposed to happen. Red China won't like that either. So what will the chat between Trump and Lai be? Darn good question. Trump, quite cryptically, paradoxically, and surprisingly, has not yet decided, he said, whether or not he will sign the legislation to trigger the arms sale. Now we can see why Xi Jinping made such a point about how Taiwan is issue number one, and if the U.S. isn't careful, we could go to shooting at each other over that island. The arms sale is to help Taiwan be able to shoot for itself. The question is, does Donald Trump, who had no problem laying waste to Iran's military over nuclear bombs that were still in the womb, does he have the seeds to stand up to China, as so many past presidents have done, by selling weapons to them when they really don't want it to happen? That's going to be interesting. That's going to be illustrative, don't you think? The talks are going to have to continue if China is going to make a deal with Russia on the huge gas pipeline project called Power of Siberia 2. China wanted to grab the corner on it, help to finance it, and then be able to buy billions of cubic meters of natural gas. They wanted to pay the same price that Russians pay in their domestic market. Putin wanted about twice that much, so the talks are stuck for the moment. Presidents Putin and Xi did shake hands on 20 other trade and technology agreements as they underlined their shared vision for what they called a multipolar world at their summit meeting. The House, with President Trump's support, has passed the Housing Affordability Bill. 13 staunch Republicans voted against it, so passage was with broad support from both parties. That bill puts an end to huge investment corporations like Blackstone buying up distressed residential properties of all kinds, scarfing up apartment buildings, whole blocks sometimes, which allows them to jack up the rents. The criticism is they act more like a slumlord than a responsible property owner and landlord. The rap on them is they neglect their properties and put people in the streets while stuffing their pockets. Their euphemism for it is an alternative investment management company. The two guys who created the company used to work together at Lehman Brothers. That housing bill is bad news for Blackstone. It's $1 trillion plus company, but a big chunk of its model for business is going to go out the window now. Prying homes out of the grip of companies like that will put more homes on the market at affordable prices. That's good news for people. And with midterm elections approaching, both Democrats and Republicans will be able to stand and say, I did that. I did that with the president's support, as a matter of fact. Someone was cooking up something truly nasty at a home in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Poisonous, toxic to be sure. There were 4 people in the home. 3 of them died because of this stuff. Only 1 lives, clinging to life, at a hospital's ICU. When first responders got there, they started getting sick fast. 18 responders exposed to the substance got dizzy and nauseous. 2 of them are in serious condition. They backed out of there once the surviving family member was taken to the University of New Mexico hospital, and then they called for the hazmat specialists in the orange Level A suits. That's top of the line. There is no risk to the greater public. You have to come into contact with whatever it is to be affected, but it's a deadly mystery to solve, and they're after it. Well, it's happened again. This, I'm sorry for the French, but this pisses all of us off. Another child found dead in an overheated car. The car was in the driveway of a home in Los Angeles. She was 4 years old. This is the 3rd to die in a hot car so far this year. The national average is 40 deaths of children. That has no possible good excuse, unless you had a stroke and were in there with them. I mean, really. I was just going to be a minute, or I'm sorry, I forgot, or it was only 70 degrees outside. Excuses like that just don't cut it. No word how long that little girl was in the car, but it had to be a while, because on an 80-degree day, it takes 30 minutes to hit 114 degrees, and it was a 70-degree day. So she was out there, stuck in that car for a while. Speaking of cars, people who have electric cars or hybrids may soon pay a higher fee at registration, $130 for an electric, $35 for a hybrid. It would be a federal fee to make sure that, like all other vehicles that use the roads and bridges of the nation, they pay into the Highway Trust Fund for upkeep. They've been getting a free ride. Well, it's over now, at least for electrics and for hybrids. Vanessa Trump has breast cancer. Sorry to hear that. She announced it this week. She's Don Jr.'s ex-wife. She's getting treatment, has high hopes of recovery. Doctors and researchers have studied breast cancer for years and years, decades and decades. But it continues to be 30% of all new female cancer cases, second only to skin cancer in the number of cases, and a lot more deadly. The average woman in America has a 13% chance of developing breast cancer. We need to solve this. This needs to be cured. It's time. Vanessa, by the way, has been in a years-long relationship with Tiger Woods. So she'll get the best of care. She's in good hands, as they say. In England, Elise Sandals, in the town of Ilkley, was going blind. She had lost the sight in her right eye back in 1987, and her left eye was fading. Wouldn't be long, darkness would be her home. The local hospital did an operation that preserved her sight. It's limited, what she can see, but she can still crochet. It's one of her favorite things to do, so she does it to say thank you to the hospital. She crochets baby blankets for the newborns. 100 blankets so far, and she has no plan to slow down. Gratitude for her sight continues, so will her crochet needles. She says they are comfort blankets for little people, because babies are not babies for very long. And I got to say, this is hats off to Ernesto Hernandez, age 10, in Brownsville, Texas. Entrepreneur. He had this dream to make keychains for his classmates, and he managed to get a small 3D printer, thanks to his mom. In no time, he had a product, he had a market, a winning smile, and a sales pitch. He was in business, and now he makes an assortment of things, all for sale, at a local store. He's making money. He spends his days designing and printing, 3D printing, colorful whistles, can openers, fidget items that help people cope with stress, like fidget spinners, things like that. He also plays football at school, so he has a well-rounded life. It's a lot of work. It's not easy, but he does it. Ernesto pops out of bed in the morning, sets up his 3D printers, has at least 3 of them right now, probably going to have more by the time we do this. And while he's at school, the computer program does the rest. When he gets home, the printers have done their job, and new trinkets, also known as products, are ready for final finishing and sale. He has a dream of buying his mom a house. She's his partner in the business, helps him with time management. Hey, he's only 10. Want to thank you for joining us today. Hey, if you're finding anything good in these brief visits, I sure hope you'll come back, bring some folks with you. I sure don't want to do it alone. I also do like to acknowledge that when you tune in, you're actually giving me some of your time too. And I know time is precious, so I appreciate it. So help spread the word if you would. I'd appreciate it. The like, follow, subscribe buttons are just sitting there, Let's reach over and hit 1 or 2. I'm Harley Carnes. Until next time, please do yourself a big favor. Make some good, conscious decisions, choices in your life. Make a decision to be happy. And fly safe. It's the only way to get there.